Struggling fire worker saves two children from fire, unaware their father is a millionaire who loves. The fire raged like a monster awakened. It was 2:43 a.m. when Ryan Keller's beeper screamed. Half awake and still in his boots from a late-night shift, he bolted out the door, heart pounding, breath fogging up in the cold April air of Brooksville, a quiet town tucked between tired mountains and forgotten roads. The call said one thing: residential fire. Two children trapped inside. Ryan had seen dozens of fires in his 15 years as a firefighter. But he never got used to the screams. Never got used to the eyes wide with terror, the smell of burning memories, or the haunting silence when they were too late. Tonight felt different. Not because it was colder, or because the sky was eerily clear, but because earlier that evening, he'd come home to find an eviction notice tacked on his apartment door. Final warning. Rent 3 months overdue. His part-time night shifts at the local gas station weren't cutting it anymore. His wife had left 2 years ago, unable to handle the chaos and the poverty that came with Ryan's unwavering dedication to saving others. All he had left was his daughter, Emma, 6 years old, asleep in her grandmother's house across town. She was the reason he kept going. As the fire truck screamed through empty streets, Ryan's mind played tug-of-war between desperation and duty. His own world was falling apart, but someone else's was on fire. The house was already an inferno by the time they arrived. Thick smoke billowed into the sky, drowning the stars. Flames clawed their way up the siding like furious hands trying to escape. A frantic woman in a bathrobe screamed in the driveway, "My babies! My babies are still in there!" Ryan didn't hesitate. He ran in before the command was fully given, bursting through the front door swallowed by heat and darkness. His lungs fought for breath as smoke wrapped around him like a shroud. Crawling beneath the heat line, guided only by instinct and muffled cries, he found the first child, a boy, maybe 4 years old, unconscious near the stairs. He wrapped the boy in his coat and bolted out, shoving him into the arms of the medics. "There's another," he choked. Without waiting for orders, Ryan turned back. He could feel the structure weakening. Every firefighter knew the warning signs: the groan of metal, the wail of stressed wood, the invisible clock ticking faster. He found her in the upstairs hallway, barely conscious, curled up in the corner, coughing violently. She looked to be about 8. Her hands were wrapped around a stuffed bunny, now singed and blackened. "Hey," Ryan said softly, crouching despite the growing heat. "You're okay now. I've got you." She looked up at him, her tear-streaked face the only thing untouched by ash. He scooped her into his arms and turned just as the ceiling behind them collapsed in a fiery crash. The hallway was a tunnel of flame now. The stairs, gone. Smoke thickened. Vision blurred. But Ryan didn't stop. He smashed through a bedroom window with his gloved hand, wrapped the girl tightly, and jumped. They landed hard. Pain seared through his ribs, but the girl in his arms was crying, and alive. The crowd erupted in shouts and sobs. The woman screamed in joy, clutching both children. Medics rushed in. Ryan collapsed to the pavement, coughing, the world fading. He woke up in the hospital 2 days later. Bruised ribs, smoke inhalation, mild concussion. He asked about the kids before anything else. "They're safe," the nurse said. "You saved them." Ryan nodded and smiled through the pain. It was worth it. It was always worth it. What he didn't know, what no one told him, was that the man who arrived at the hospital an hour later was Lucas Grayson. Lucas Grayson, billionaire entrepreneur, media-shy tech mogul, and single father. The children Ryan had saved, Eli and Sophie, were Lucas's world. He had built empires, funded missions to Mars, but none of it mattered the night he got the call that his house was burning and his kids were inside. He arrived at the hospital, trembling. When he saw his children safe and sleeping, he wept for the first time in 10 years. When he learned about Ryan, he asked every question. Who was he? Why had he risked everything? Where did he live? And then Lucas discovered the eviction notice. The unpaid bills. The child Ryan had, Emma. For a week, Lucas said nothing. But behind the scenes, he moved mountains. On the 8th day, Ryan returned home to a note pinned to his apartment door. Not from his landlord, but from Lucas. It read, "To the man who saved my children, without ever knowing who they were. You ran into a burning building while your own life was crumbling. That kind of bravery isn't taught, it's lived. I would like to meet you. And I would like to help. Lucas Grayson." Ryan stared at the letter, unsure what to make of it. He didn't want charity. But when he turned the page and saw the next lines, he froze. "You gave me my family back. Let me return the favor." Attached was a check. Enough to buy a house. Enough to send Emma to college. Enough to breathe again. The next day, they met. Lucas was nothing like Ryan expected. Quiet. Humble. Tired eyes but a warm smile. He thanked Ryan not with grand speeches but with a hug that said more than money ever could. "I've built 1,000 things," Lucas said. "But I never built a life I could trust until now. I've been so focused on what I had, I forgot what I could give. You reminded me." And in that quiet hospital cafeteria, the two men made a pact, not just of friendship, but of purpose. Lucas offered Ryan a job, not a handout, but a chance. A position running a new foundation, the Ember Project, dedicated to supporting first responders and their families. They would build houses, fund scholarships, provide mental health support. Together. At first, Ryan hesitated. He was a firefighter, not a businessman. But then he thought of Emma. He thought of the nights he cried when she was asleep, wondering if he was failing her. He thought of the fire. Of the children's faces. And he said yes. Months passed. Then years. Brooksville changed. The Ember Project turned it into a beacon for small-town America. Emma thrived. Sophie and Eli called Ryan Uncle Fireman. Lucas found something he'd never had before: connection, purpose, love not built on status, but on soul. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Emma sat with Ryan on their porch swing. She looked up at him and asked, "Daddy, do heroes always wear capes?" Ryan laughed, pulling her close. "No, sweetheart. Sometimes they wear old boots and carry people through fire." She thought for a moment. "Like you." He didn't answer. He just kissed her forehead. Because he knew. In a world full of noise and fame and power, sometimes the quietest acts change everything. All he did was run into a fire. But love ran out with him. Let me know if you want a shorter version, narration-ready format, or a custom audio script adaptation.